Hello, Senator Harris. Thanks so much for being here with us.
Thank you. It's good to be with you. And just so I'm clear, my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
Thank you very much, and mine are as well.
Thank you.
I am so happy to be here with you. So you're running for president,
Yes.
and very interestingly, when you announced you were running for president, in your first speech, your first public appearance, you talked about the importance of trans rights.
In my announcement.
In your announcement.
In Oakland in January of this year.
Yeah. Well, what's your journey that got you to that point where trans rights is important to you?
I mean, I can't remember a time that they've not been important to me. When I was district attorney of San Francisco, I started, at least the first in California, maybe the first in the nation, victims assistance program for members of the trans community. Because there is so much about when somebody has been assaulted or has been victimized in any way that prevents them from coming forward if they feel they're going to be judged or harshly judged. And I know this is true. And so I created this division of my office way back when. I mean, I was elected in 2003 and staffed it with members of the trans community to make sure that people who had suffered wrongdoing knew that there was a safe place for them to go where they would not be judged, where they would be treated with dignity, and where we would then make sure that they received equal rights under the law.
Well, in 2006, while you were the district attorney of San Francisco, Gwen Araujo was murdered over in Alameda County across the bay.
Yeah.
And you organized a really amazing conference. It was honestly the first time you were on my radar. Do you want to talk about that and why it was important to you? I
mean, Gwen Araujo, what a tragic story. She was 17, horribly treated, and what was happening around the country is that trans women were being killed, and in particular trans women of color. And we know right now there's an epidemic, in particular around Black trans women. And then what would happen is that if the police responded, if there was an arrest, if somebody was charged, then there would be a trial, and the person who did the killing would say, I freaked out. I panicked. And then, so they call this defense, right, as a way to say, I didn't know what I was doing, therefore I'm not guilty. They would call it the trans panic defense or the gay panic defense. And I knew it was happening around the country. And at the time, I was elected DA. I was the first woman to be elected DA of San Francisco, the first woman of color to be elected DA in a state of 40 million people. And I said, we've got to do something about this. So I decided to create a training for prosecutors on how to defeat the trans panic defense. And through the National District Attorneys Association, I invited DAs from around the country, in red states, in blue states, in purple states, and they came to San Francisco. And in San Francisco, we're very proud of the fact that so many of the architects and leaders of the movement around rights for the trans community are right there in San Francisco. Many of them I've worked with for years, and so I brought them in to do a training for these prosecutors on who the community is, the historic prejudice and hate that folks have experienced, and the need to understand and respect and give dignity. And it was the first of its kind in the nation. And yeah, that was back in 2006.
Now, this is a very broad question for you, but I think it's the most important question.
Okay.
Why should transgender people vote for you?
Because I have a long-standing commitment to fighting for the rights of transgender people, for the dignity of transgender people. I have a long-standing awareness based on my experience in the community of knowing the lives that people are living every day that are burdened with fear, that are burdened with unequal access to everything from employment to a response from law enforcement, to access to health care, to access to housing. I mean, it covers the gamut. And I'm fully aware of it. And again, this is not new to me. That's why way back when, with the power that I had, I used it in a way that was about pushing forward the movement, frankly, and the agenda. And so look at my record to know. When I was Attorney General, I learned that the California Department of Corrections, which was a client of mine, I didn't get to choose my clients.
Right, a client of the Attorney General.
A client of the Attorney General, right. Of the Office of Attorney General, that they were standing in the way of surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. And there was a specific case. And when I learned about the case, I worked behind the scenes to not only make sure that that transgender woman got the services she was deserving. So it wasn't only about that case. I made sure that they changed the policy in the state of California so that every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access to the medical care that they desired and need. And I believe it was not only, I know it was historic in California, but I believe actually it may have been one of the first, if not the first in the country, where I pushed for that policy in a Department of Corrections. So you can just look at all the work I've done over the years to know. I feel very strongly about this, and at its core, it's a civil rights issue, it's a justice issue, and it's an issue of humanity.
Well, Senator, thank you so much for being here. Good luck on the campaign trail.
Thank you.
And California is lovely today.
It is just lovely every day.
Thank you.
Every day.
Thanks.